Brentocast, Season 2, with your host, Brent Bowers.
And we're back with episode 54, February 19th, and it's 5:28 a.m. on the only day of the week that I don't have to take Delilah to school because she stays with her mom's on Sunday nights. And had a really busy weekend, lots of happenings in the past week, which I'm going to run down for you super quick. The week started out last Sunday with Nancy and I staying overnight at the fabulous Valentine Hotel. The older we get, going to fancy hotels and staying overnight at least, or sometimes multiple nights, is getting to be a bit of a hobby of ours. The Valentine Hotel is probably the fanciest hotel that I've stayed in, superseding the Washington Duke Inn, which we've stayed in quite a bit more, but and we've done extended stays there too. But Valentine edges it out just a little bit. It's about the same price, though maybe even a little cheaper, but nicer on the whole, bigger on the whole for sure, better, more reasonable restaurant on the whole. And of course, it's connected to a spa, which Washington Duke does not have. So Washington Duke Inn is connected to a golf course, not being a golfer. Although I guess there's going to be a small golf course, and there's already one right beside of the Valentine Hotel. But anyway, that was our Valentine's. Of course, that was also the same night as the Super Bowl 58, maybe, I guess, which I was able to catch just a few moments of, including the overtime and the finale. So that's pretty cool, and I caught the halftime show as well. But apart from that, Nancy had me scheduled the whole day. We got there at 12. We had our brunch. Then we had afternoon tea, which was Valentine themed, at 3. And then I guess I had a massage at 6. And then we hit the pool after that and the jacuzzi. And then back to the room, and ultimately got up in the morning and had a real quick breakfast there before we headed back to work Monday morning. So that was our last Monday morning. This Monday morning is different because so let me not jump ahead though, actually. So that Wednesday, the reason we had done our little, husband-wife Valentine on Sunday was because on Wednesday we had planned to go to Loafers and Legends for a special Valentine's Day meal. They're not usually open on Wednesday, so that was kind of a special deal. And my friend and now bandmate, the amazing Mark Woodward, you'll hear me talk about him a lot. I'm really up on just his whole talent right now, but I've been trying to get him to play at Loafers, and as it turned out, he played last Friday night, and also he provided the music for the Valentine's thing, and it just really killed it. It was really good. But anyway, that was kind of about our family, so we took one of our people at the store that's done really good on one of our detoxes, my mother, and also my granddaughter, and they had a great time too. So the whole thing was just great, and that was set up for 2 settings, so we did the early setting, and then we left around probably 7:15 or so, and rode around Baden. Excuse me, I just got hit with like a wave of sleepiness, which is funny because I've been laying in the bed for about an hour before I got up to do this because a lot of things have happened that are kind of on my mind. But anyway, so we had a really busy week. Of course, Delilah, the rest of the week through Friday, and then Friday at the end of school, her mom picks her up. And we have Friday nights off, and then she's back with us Saturday and Sunday. Well, this Saturday and Sunday, we knew that we were going to be going to meet my brother-in-law at church in Concord. Only we got apparently confused, or Nancy got confused, because basically I just go where she tells me. And we went to that Multiplicity Church, or I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it's got the word Multiply Church. Yeah, Multiply Church in Concord, big mega church with a Christian school and everything. We get in there, and everybody was super nice, and she kept going, "Oh, my brother Peter goes here." And I'm like, "Nancy, they probably got like 10,000 members. They don't know who Peter is." And come to find out, he had actually that's not his church. And so it turns out they go to the church that's kind of up on the hill on one of the sort of the backside of Concord. And I've always kind of wanted to go check that church out, and we did. So that's where we went, and we actually got to the other one kind of early, so it allowed to get us to this one only a few minutes late when we discovered our mistake. But the first church had a coffee shop where we sat down and had coffee. We tried to drop Delilah off at the kids' church, and she was not having it. And I don't blame her. I felt kind of uneasy about leaving her there, too. Nothing wrong with the people, of course. Just it's a lot of new people and a lot of new faces. And, she's the most precious thing to me. And I'm not just about dropping her off with people that I don't know. Though everybody there was super nice. But anyway, we go to the other church, and because it's so late, we don't try to take her to the kids' church. We just take her in the sanctuary with us. And as fate would have it, they're doing communion. And so it's kind of serious, The music was really nice. And, we took communion. It was nice. And I met the pastor, and he introduced himself as the senior pastor. And in my mind, there's a guy that I follow on Facebook for Daddy's House Church, comedian. And he always refers to it as senior global pastor. And he's highlighting some of the idiosyncrasies, let's say, of megachurches. I wouldn't call First Baptist a megachurch. Now, the Multiply Church, I would call a megachurch. But, it's a fine line that, there's big and then there's mega, right? But anyway, I digress. I just, when he said senior pastor, I wanted to say senior global pastor. But I didn't. But anyway, they were really nice to us, so it was cool. And I ran into Jeff Bowers from high school. He came up to me after the thing, and I confessed at first when I looked him in the face, he seemed familiar, but I didn't really recognize him. He used to be the skinniest guy, and now he's not skinny, but he's not skinny, and I don't know. So I chatted with him for a minute, and everyone was really friendly to us. We'll probably try to go back there sometime. But it was wild that Nancy actually was up for, we got churches all around in Albemarle that I promised to visit, the closest of which is less than a mile away. And, it's just, I guess she likes to get out of the fish pond, she says, of Albemarle. But anyway, so that was our Sunday. And then had to get back, dropped Delilah off, went and got her like Taco Bell, because by this time it's getting to be like, 12:30 or 1 or so, and she hasn't had lunch yet. And she did great at church, by the way. Was quiet, sat in the big church with us, and, didn't make a fuss. But when she starts getting hungry and tired, that's the time the bad behavior can come in if you don't kind of capitalize on keeping her, fed and happy. But anyway, we go to by the Taco Bell there in Stanfield, Locust, and taking her to Stanfield, and I probably spent just under $20 on food. And I realized there was a cheese roll up that I think Nancy had. And I got 3 Doritos Locos Tacos, which I was planning on eating. But as it turned out, Delilah was really hungry. So, and then we also got her cheese roll up. So she was like, I'm still hungry. And I was like, don't worry, I got a bag full of tacos. So I just gave her the tacos, and, we dropped her off with her mama for her half day with her mom a week. But anyway, so she was happy. She had a great day and everything. So we get back to the store, start unloading, and actually Harrison beat me there on this occasion and starts priming up the board, because our whole thing now with the group we're putting together, hopefully to play a concert at some point outside on the deck this year at Loafers, kind of centered around Mark as the lead singer, and I'm sort of playing backup singer and bass, and then we got Tim also doing backup singing and some guitar, and Harrison, and then Will. So kind of a fleshed out band, which is not something is usually the case, and if it is, I'm usually on guitar, which kind of drives it in a certain direction. But we just start, as we're setting things up, we just start jamming on some chords, just a typical blues progression in E, I guess. And Mark just starts singing this little line. Well, I'm sitting in my driveway, won't be waiting long. And that turns into this whole blues song that we do called Until You Change Your Mind. And we just all kind of spitballed lyrics and stuff and got it together. Will was right there with the beat. And, I had this little bass kind of hooky little bass line going, and we recorded 2 or 3 versions of it, like live into the, through the board into the main machine there, and I think that's going to work. It was amazing that we could all do it with headphones on, not having to play or sing particularly loud. Everybody could hear everybody, and like that was a pleasure. Recording that way is awesome, and I hope that we continue that. But I was thinking, we typically we try to get together every 2 weeks on a Sunday and spend 2 to 3 hours. And in that time, we can make up a song, rehearse the other songs, and potentially live record something. Now, on those live recordings, later, if we wanted to come back and perfect the backing vocal or redo the vocal, by virtue of the way that we've recorded it, that would be possible because we're playing line in mostly. And we've got a little bit of sound coming out of the speakers, but not enough really to bleed over the mics. So I think it would be totally doable to just turn that into like a serious recording. And then if we're doing that once every 3 weeks, let's just say that we average one song, that would give us, if we, most of the time, so 12 months, and, years time, we'd have 24 songs, which is like totally a double album. And then let's say a couple of those times we don't write new songs. If we had like 22 songs, is certainly 11 songs to me is a complete album. Like 10 is a slightly small album. But really you're looking at like 35 minutes of music, and I try to meet that 3 minute and 20-second time goal for each song. And in the case of a band like this, which, it just so happened that Tim brought his 12-string acoustic, Harrison was playing the Telecaster or the Gretsch, and, I'm playing the bass, and then Will's drums, and Mark is playing the Kurzfeld, which is piano, and he's able to switch it and play an organ solo on it and all this. That general sound, it came off very Grateful Dead, but a little more blues-driven. And that's not a bad place to be. I think a lot of people would enjoy that. It went really, really good. And by the end of the night, we're all listening back and thinking, wow, this isn't bad. Just to have... And I think Mark he seemed a little surprised how easy that song came out. And I wasn't, because I've been working with Harrison all this time, and that's exactly the way it always is. We're never stuck for more than a second on anything. It's just boom. So many options, musically speaking. And it was just a pleasure, and it worked out just the way I had planned it. Not for nothing, but that's exactly how I planned that. I thought, man, this is going to work, and we just keep everybody in there for a year. We'll have a really cool big album, and potentially get to play that outdoor show down at Loafers, and then maybe even I can develop one more show for us this year. I don't know. We're really more about quality now than quantity. And I think, at least with these guys, at the moment, everybody seems to be cool with it not being for money, just for the experience. And lots of times that will eliminate you from a lot of the bigger players, that are more, career-driven. That's not us. This is something to do for joy. And, I don't know. We'll see. And the only downside is that because there's so many guys, we can't go Bowers, Foreman, Irvin, Woodward, Sutton. It's too many names to do it like that. So we have to come up with a name. And that's something that I sort of stopped doing a long time ago. But I don't know. We'll have to figure something out. But I could see us having a certain sound now. It's kind of groovy. So technically, if things keep working like that, we should be able to live record at least get a live album out of it, which will be released sometime this year, hopefully. But if everybody keeps coming, that'll be awesome. So in addition to that, Will had to leave a little bit earlier, so when he left, we went back upstairs and got into this song by the late Emily Soward called Mercy. And I had recorded Emily before her passing, and I haven't talked about this too much on the podcast because, I don't know, frankly, I've struggled with what I should do with the recording. I certainly tried to give it to her bandmates and her friend that was also involved in the recording, and they barely, in one case, one bandmate never even acknowledged it. I sent him Dropbox links to all the files to take that and do something with it if he so desired, but they did have an album released posthumously that they had already worked on. So I don't know if that's maybe why they weren't so excited about that or whatever. But anyway, I just thought, wow, this is like, it's a pretty song. And ironically, the lyrics of the song are, Lord, Lord, have mercy on me. And of course, her passing away the way she did in a single car accident. It just seemed too poetic not to do something with. And in the time since I recorded them on my 4-track recorder in the original location of Albemarle Nutrition, and I'm just guessing this would have been 8 or 9 years ago. Since that time, I have started partnering up, of course, with Harrison. And Bowers Foreman has recorded no less than 50 songs complete in a much bigger studio. And through that process, learned a lot about what you can do to perfect recordings and just production tricks and stuff. And while I don't want to do any kind of like pitch correction or timing correction with Emily's performance on that song that I have, I do want to change the accompaniment and make the accompaniment piano-based and do some things. She was playing a particularly, this is a matter of opinion, of course, but as a producer, there's a certain acoustic sound that I like, and then there's one that I don't particularly like. And I understand why a lot of people play those Ovation guitars, because they are less strenuous to play, and they're easier to hold, easier on your back, more like holding an electric guitar that's light. But that's the type of guitar. It may not have been an actual Ovation, but I'm pretty sure it was a plastic back guitar that Emily played, and it worked great for what they were doing, but for the purpose of making the very best version of her song that I could make as a producer, it wasn't right. So fortunately, I recorded her voice and her guitar separate so that we could separate the two, and I'll use her guitar as a guide, and it probably will be on the track in some capacity, but I want to go in and sort of enhance it with another guitar, perhaps a 12-string, or maybe a high-string guitar and a standard 6-string, so that I can pan the elements of the 12-string. But I want to go, right off the bat, the song already sounds like Mazzy Star to me a little bit, and I want to produce it a little bit more like that with some keys and keyboard and such, and an actual drum beat instead of just the cajon, which, what Kent did totally worked for their live performance, and I understand all that completely, which is, how I ended up recording them. I thought, wow, they sound cool. Let me offer to do this little demo. And actually the plan was to do the little demo for them and then make a music video for it, which I was super into making music videos at the time. And we made plans to do that, and we even set a date, but it just never materialized. We were going to shoot it up in Salisbury where they played all the time. And but, if you're interested in checking out Emily's music, I would say, I don't think she's on iTunes. I have to double check. Unfortunately, the name of their group was Mama Tried. Only unfortunate because a lot of people call their acts Mama Tried, because it's probably Merle Haggard's most famous song and a very poetic song that a lot of people respond to. And I totally get when people call their act that. But that means there's a gazillion of them on iTunes, and I couldn't find hers specifically. I also don't know if the posthumously released album is available online, because I barely knew Emily, and I performed with her once or twice at the open mic up there at what is the name of the place? It's a winery there, Morgan Ridge Brewery, I guess, or Ridgeway Walk is what they call it, that particular location. And so they hosted the open jam there. That's where I met Emily and Kent. Well, I had met Kent previously, but that's where I sort of met them as a group. And also that's where I met Caleb Hill. But I digress. And CJ Peters and the whole Salisbury crew of musicians. I as a musician don't particularly fit in, but they were super nice to me, even though I was kind of an outsider. And that's not always the case with folks in Salisbury. I'll just be honest. It's a very cliquish environment in my experience, but they were all nice to me. So I appreciated that, and I appreciated them, and I appreciated seeing like a girl-driven outfit like that, and her being the primary writer. I just dug what their sound was, and that's why I offered to record them, and that's how I ended up with these recordings. So, I've been sitting on these recordings for years now, and after I just kind of buttoned up the latest round of edits and stuff with the bigger studio, I just thought, you know what, I can't get anybody else to respond to, hey, take these tracks and do something with them. Emily doesn't have a song on iTunes, and I think that's wrong. So I'm going to find a way to finish this song with my group of players, and I'm just going to release it as Mercy by Emily Saward, and I'll reach out to her family and find a way to direct any sales funds to them, and that's how we'll do it. That's my plan for right now, and I hope to be able to get a response from. I'll reach out again to everybody who I've reached out to before, and maybe a few other people that I know knew her, and maybe they can put me in touch with family or whatever. But I thought she was a kind of a bright spot as far as artists in that area that I had seen, and I know she was an artist, not just a musician, but like a general artsy person. And I don't know. I tend to think that if she could see that this was getting released, I think she'd appreciate it, and I think I can do it justice as a production, frankly. So that's why I'm doing it. And that's really all I have to say about that for now. Hopefully, I'll be able to share that on the podcast at some point in the future, or information about where you can go and catch it. But the band started working on that. And in the context of just the probably 15 minutes we spent on it, we got the project set up, we got her voice isolated, everything sort of stripped away, and figured out exactly, it's a little bit of an odd timing kind of song where the first chord in the progression is kind of used like an add note chord. I don't know if I'm saying that in a way that makes sense, but it's just a quirky little approach to the rhythm. And Harrison and I had a Southern rock song that we did for someone, where it was a similar kind of thing. We really had to go into like being very meticulous about how the rhythm was played to match, or in this case, play the actual rhythm the way the guy originally demoed it. So we had that experience, and it just I could just felt that just kind of pouring into this, and just, of course, Harrison's great ear anyway. She, of course, played this with a capo, so then we had to determine the chords for the piano and stuff, which were flat chords, but it's all good. We figured it out, and so we're at a point now where I think the next time we get the super group together, so to speak, we can probably just knock out those parts, and I'll be able to kind of finish that production up. And yeah, it's been on my mind for a while to do it, so I'm happy to get that knocked out. Well, in addition to that, I guess we just, had a great time hanging out and sort of socializing a little bit, and just really high on the idea of not having to be the lead singer in a new group, playing bass, which is way different, and being a dedicated backup singer. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I finally got the front man to do that, for. So hopefully we just keep going forward and writing these cool songs, and just having a good time with it, and that is certainly the plan. But this week is going to be a big one, because we have something else at Loafer's, a special spaghetti dinner like Wednesday night. Then I know Thursday. No, wait. It just occurs to me that because of that Loafer's thing, Delilah is going to have to miss 2 weeks of gymnastics. That's a bummer. But anyway, Saturday night, taking Tony to Wieners and Losers, the largest private collection of video games on the East Coast in Winston-Salem, hanging out there, and I guess getting to meet the proprietor, Scott Leftwich, which, as it turns out, is an awesome musician, prolific on iTunes, who records his own music in his house as well. So I'm pretty chuffed about that. Then Sunday and Monday, I guess Nancy and Summer will be gone for some CE training, and I will be with Delilah. I don't know exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to find something fun to do. You can believe that. But anyway, that's kind of what's going on. It's getting on to a long episode, so we will we'll put a pin in it and just say thanks for listening. I do want to mention, I'm going to make another episode dedicated to the late, great Gene Starnes, our amazing friend that passed away, I guess like 3 weeks ago now. I didn't mention it earlier because, frankly, it was just too fresh and just didn't feel like I could talk about it without getting a little choked up. But, Gene Starnes, what a guy. And, he deserves his own episode. And I'm going to talk about our friendship with him and the way he supported our business, And that deserves kind of its own episode. And I definitely don't want to do that one from the bathtub. When I do these in the morning, my voice sounds super low. Yeah. And a little gravelly, and definitely not appropriate for memorializing our great friend Gene. But anyway, I'll say thanks for listening, and God bless. Hope you guys have a great week.